Okay. Okay, we are recording. Hello, everybody. Yay! It is What If Wednesday, and we are featuring one of the most fun people that I know in the world, and it's my friend Sima Button. And I think you're going to just fall in love with her just because I love her so much. And so we're only sisters and friends because of Mary Kay. And so I'm so glad that y'all can get to meet her and know more about her story. And just my goal is that you'll feel super inspired and just encouraged by all the things that she's gotten to walk through and how she's like, you know, she just keeps turning up and just making it happen. So, so anyway, this is my friend Residual. Yeah. Okay, Sima. Okay, so Sima, tell us. You know, I was telling people whenever I was mentioning you, I was like, so Sima's, you know, she's a mom. She has 2 small children. She also has multiple jobs, like, you know, her own business, another business. She's had multiple businesses, different jobs, and she's a very successful Mary Kay girl, married, you know, to the wonderful guy, and has had an incredible weight loss journey that you have walked through that's been like, wow, pretty cool. So that's like the amazing thing. But I want to know, like, what made you decide to get into Mary Kay, and how long have you been with Mary Kay Cosmetics?
Okay, so in July, it'll be 15 years.
Oh, you're so cute and young. That's impossible.
I know, it's crazy. So the funniest thing is before Mary Kay, I didn't wear any makeup. And so my wedding was coming up, and I did want to wear some makeup for my wedding because that's what people do, right? And there's lots of pictures and all that. And so I really knew nothing. I wore lipstick on my lips and my cheeks maybe once or twice a year because that's what my mom did, and that's all I knew. And so I was like, I could go to Macy's or some other big box store and have them do a makeover on me, but I was afraid they would make me look like a clown, and that I wouldn't, if I did like it, not remember what they did. I was like, I could go buy to CVS and buy a whole bunch of stuff and just experiment, because I'm sure that would have gone well with my absolutely ignorant self, right? And then I was like, okay, I could also hire a makeup artist, but I was afraid he would make me not look like me. And for some reason at that point, makeup artists were men. I don't know why, in my brain. And that's not where I wanted my budget for my wedding to go. So I was going around. These are the only 3 options I could think of. And finally, my boss was like, go put your zip code in the Mary Kay website and find yourself a Mary Kay lady. And up pops my fabulous director. She's now my director. But at the time, Nita came in. And would you not agree that we procrastinate what we're afraid of? And we are afraid of what we do not know, right?
Yes.
So I did not know makeup. So I was afraid of it and I procrastinated. So by the time I got together with Nita after running around like a rat in a maze, it was 2 weeks to the wedding. And I was leaving in 1 week to go to the wedding because it was at my parents' house 4 hours away, and we had to like get the house ready.
Oh man.
So lucky for me, we usually actually don't do skincare and makeup in one appointment, but lucky for me, Nita actually had time that afternoon. So we did both skincare and makeup. I fell in love with the skincare. But I had to my makeup. That's what the appointment was for. So I bought more than I really probably had budgeted for. And I did my own makeup at the wedding, and I still get compliments to this day. 1 session of teaching, 1.
Wow.
So that's what got me started with Mary Kay as a product. I started the company about a month later because I did my party a month after the honeymoon and all that stuff. And I had a ready-made customer base. I had my 5 girls that came, and I didn't know anybody, ladies. I was a transplant, but I invited 5 people and they all came, and they all bought stuff, and they all wanted their second appointment with makeup. Remember, we don't normally do it in the same appointment. And then one girl from there booked skincare with a different group of girls. So I had 2 parties booked from mine. And at that point, my director was like, well, you know, this is how we make our money in Mary Kay. These customers would be yours. I'll still help you with it because I had committed to those parties. I'm like, ready-made customer base. Okay, I'll dip my toes in. Remember, I just learned how to do makeup. I wasn't really sure of myself, but I was like, well, I've already got probably around 10 clients, so maybe I should try it. So that's what I did. And I dipped my toes in. I was in and out on commitment for a while.
Wow, though. I mean, that is so fascinating. And what I think is so interesting is it's like, you know, you were newly married. And so that could have been a holdback. You could have been like, oh gosh, I'm newly married. I'm too afraid to do something new on top of the new they already had.
And we just bought the house 6 months before the wedding too. Talk about new on top of new on top of new.
Right. It just stacked itself up. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that is fascinating. And, you know, some people would have been like, that would have been too much for some people to already think, but I'm just thinking, you know, what was in your mind at the time? Like, you could have used that as an excuse to not do it, but what made you decide to just, I mean, you had a ready-made customer base. Yeah. But was there anything else?
I saw the value of the business opportunity. I obviously really liked Nita, And I honestly, I still like, I didn't think of our finances together yet. We were so newly married. I was so independent. I'd been living on my own for so long. I didn't even think to like, people have to ask permission. I'm like, it's my money. I can do what I want. So I did. My husband has been supportive, but I'm an independent woman. I didn't even ask permission. I didn't think I needed it. It didn't even occur to me that I might need to.
Well, so I love that, and I can relate to that too. So, and I know a lot of people who probably can as well. So that's okay. This obviously you were newly married, and then no kids yet. So you've obviously been Mary Kay for quite like 15 years. You said
15. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so that's some longevity. You've been in Mary Kay for a long time. So tell
Yeah.
us about the journey. Like, did you like were you always just Mary Kay, or did you have? Tell me about these. I know you had other jobs,
Yeah.
and so that
So,
could be challenging. What did you do? How did that work?
so I was an administrative assistant for a fireplace company in the construction world when I started Mary Kay, working 40 plus hours a week. We usually had overtime. And like I said, I had kind of had one leg in, one leg out
Yeah.
initially. I even had a commitment on Monday nights, which is when our meetings were. And I was like, well, I'll do my other thing. It was fun. It was not a work commitment. It was a fun commitment. I was like, I'll do the other thing one week and I'll go to Mary Kay one week. Like I did that for a little while. But I really watched my director and the lifestyle she had, and I really wanted that. I knew that we would want to have kids someday, and I knew I couldn't go into an office every day when they were little and didn't want to, at least not initially. And so I really saw Mary Kay as my plan, my path to that. And so I started building it when I was working 40 plus hours a week. And then the construction crisis in 2008 happened. So my fireplace company shrank. So we offered to start working 4 days a week, the two of us in the office, before, like literally 2 days before they were going to ask us to cut back our hours. Like we knew. And when they decided that they wanted us back full time, I said no. So I started stepping it back. And then when I did get pregnant and started having my babies, I worked from home. I worked part-time. And then by the time I had Raina, I was still working for them part-time, very part-time, virtually. And they're like, you know what, we got it. Everybody's trained, it's covered, because we knew I was phasing out. And so we sort of mutually parted right when I had Raina. So my second child.
Wow.
So
But this whole time, even though you were working there, and sounds to me, it sounds a little uncertain, like the job, like we're cutting back and this and that, which I think can make anybody feel fearful, about
company and people I loved and I cared for. So I knew that if I wanted to go back or whatever, we could. But yeah, I mean, anytime that somebody else was holding the reins, you've got that.
there's right. And so there's that kind of that mentality. And so that's just interesting. So, but this whole time, I mean, you've been in Mary Kay 15 years and you've always been a great product seller. I know you do a ton of sales. You're one of our number one, in our top 10 every single year for sales as far as our whole national area. You're always selling a ton of product. And so that's awesome. But yet, how did you fit that in, with the job? And then we have two kids. I mean, what did you do?
Right. And I mean, now I do have another business and I actually work as a virtual assistant as well. But Mary Kay is my main income right now. I just like having multiple streams of income. I think it's smart. And my other business is my creative outlet too. So the thing is the cool thing about Mary Kay, one of my adoptive directors, she called it the Mary Kay weave. And you weave it around the rest of your life. So when I worked 40 hours a week, what I would do is my husband was a school teacher, and at that time he was in the public school, so he would get home before me. So he was on dinner duty, so he cooked. So I would take 15 minutes in the car on the way home, or I would coach my team on speaker in the car on the way home. I might take 15 minutes or 20 minutes. I had an hour lunch break. So I had a longer lunch break. So I would take some of my lunch breaks sometimes to do booking calls. There were times I actually went and did customer appreciations to get new leads on my lunch hour. I found places in the same strip where my work was, and I would do a lead event with a preschool academy that was next door. So I found ways to work it around my schedule. And then I worked a lot in the evenings and the weekends then. Now I'm at home. My kids are now both finally in school, but like even before they were in school, I worked most of my job during the day. And I still work some nights. I'm here, I still work some nights and evenings, weekends, but I manage most of my coaching calls, most of my like when I do my outgoing attempts and all that, almost all of that happens during a work day, so that when I have 4 to 6, it's sacred in my family. I block it off. That's when I relax, I cook, and I'm with my family. And so I've been able to carve that time out. In fact, I have networking opportunities that I have said no to because their meeting is 4 to 6 and it's once a month, but I'm like, I'm not going to take a regularly scheduled thing to take away from my time. I will do it every once in a while if it's something really important, but I'm not going to regularly schedule because that's time I have blocked off for family. And that flexibility in my schedule is sacred to me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that because it just proves to me, and I just think it's so great to like remind myself of that, you get to choose and you can, you have obviously made it work and you have your family time. And it's so important, especially when you have young kids like that, to be there during those certain times. And, you're the boss of you because you have your other business, which
Right.
is a great thing. So just managing that, I think that's wonderful. Well, so something that I know, because I will say, I think all women, have some challenges with, I would say, especially this time of the year, weight loss and like starting new things, and, because it's the new year and we've all eaten too much for the holidays. And so, I think that that's one of the areas that women can really struggle with. And I have seen you be really successful with that. And I think at one point you had lost like 100 pounds or something.
It was close. I lost 70. Yeah.
That is a ton. That's like a whole person. Yeah. God, my daughter barely weighs 90. She's 14. So there's, she's a little kid. But I mean, that's amazing. Like, what do you think was a way for you to manage that? I mean, did Mary Kay training help you, or how did you do that?
Absolutely. So one of the things in Mary Kay that we teach a lot and we really focus on is tracking. And any business owner knows that tracking is important. That doesn't mean all of us do it, but the importance of tracking. And in Mary Kay, we talk about baby steps and little wins and all of that. And so with my weight loss journey, I started with one called, and we also talk about the importance of words. So I used to use a website because I loved their tracking, but it was called fatsecret.com. And right, exactly. See, exactly. So I finally cut ties. I like the tracking, but the words were really getting to me. And so my mom had started on MyFitnessPal, and I was like, oh, that word is much better. And words and affirmations are super important. And the tracking was as good or better. So I was like, oh, I found my new place. And so tracking was a key, but having the desire and the understanding of why tracking is so important, and the knowing the pleasure of tracking and those little wins came from Mary Kay. So I'm a gamer. Like, I like games. And so both tracking in Mary Kay and the tracking in MyFitnessPal ended up feeling like a game for me, because it's like, okay, I've got my calorie cap, when I do it, are they good quality calories, all those things. But it gave me a way to see it. In most weight loss journeys, they tell you, record it, blah, 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 whatever. But it was data I didn't know how to use when it was just in a notebook. When it's one of these fitness trackers, it'll spit out, okay, you got 30% this, you got 15% fat. Like, I could then use the data to move forward. And so that was the difference maker for me. And I know a lot of people love paper and pen, and some things I still like to write down. Like, some of my tracking is still paper, but most of it I actually prefer to be digital. And so once those tools became digital, for me, that actually helped a lot, because then I could actually transform that data into something I could use and move forward and continue my health journey. And I already knew how to eat a little bit, but it helped continue that knowledge. And just that whole journey of learning it and all that. Again, Mary Kay helped with that, because we're always talking about reading and enriching yourself and all that. So I knew that you needed the whole package for it to work, and part of that was the Mary Kay training.
So that is what is so interesting, because I think that so many, like, I love how you said the Mary Kay weave, like where you weave it in, and that's one of the pieces that you could use that. And to me, I mean, our health is our biggest wealth. If you're not healthy,
I wear my Fitbit every day. It gives me data I can use.
There you go. So that, to me, that's like a huge thing, because I think a lot of us, get frustrated with starting a New Year's resolution, and then we're like, we're gonna, lose weight, but we don't like say how much, and then we don't track it, and then there's all that. And I love that you shared that, because I think that is
the brain. Like, for me, when I weigh in every day, because for me, that's the accountability, and that works, because again, I learned accountability. For some people, that doesn't work. A lot of things like Weight Watchers will tell you once a week or whatever, and you have to know yourself. If you can deal with the up and down, because your weight will go up and down, it's just a fact of water retention, all that kind of stuff. If you can deal with the up and down and use it just as your daily accountability and learning and the knowledge about your body, it works. But you have to know your own brain, or at least learn your own brain for that, because some people, they need to do once a week or once every 2 weeks for the way their psyche works, and you have to learn that about yourself.
And I will say this, I think that because I've known you so long, because when you come down to Dallas when it's seminar time and you'll always stay with me,
Yeah.
which I love that. That's my favorite part is I get to have Sima come visit. So I love that sisterhood of Mary Kay. I always get to have a catch up and it's so fun. And I always love the gifts you make me, like earrings. I always love that. That's like my favorite. It's like, oh, I know I'm gonna get new earrings because she's gonna make some. So anyway, I love it. But what I was thinking is that like, it's one of those little things that you take away from your Mary Kay business that it's like a thought of, you have to know how your brain works. And
Yes,
what I
that's
think
a
of it
very
that
good
way is that I think that some people, you might think you know you, but getting into a business where you're personally growing all the time, it's helped me to learn me and to learn how I think. When I used to just do things and I wouldn't really know why I did them, I was just like, this is what I'm doing. But I've learned that from Mary Kay as well. So I think that's a really good point. So I'm really glad you mentioned that. Yay.
Yeah.
Also, now is the time where people, it's, the new year, it's new beginnings, things like this. And, obviously it's not been all up, like downhill slide for you, Mary Kay. Obviously things have been up and down. We've all had things that go that are difficult.
Absolutely.
Can you think of any time when you thought, oh my gosh, I totally am just throwing in the towel on this? Or, maybe a time that you worked through that you want to share, if there's anything that was difficult or, something that, that you.
Well, I mean, any business is cyclical like that. It's up and down. So I rarely ever thought I was going to throw in the towel. There was one time very early on. So one of the things that in life in general, but also in Mary Kay, I tend to avoid negative news for the most part, but I fell into a trap. So many of you probably have heard, pyramid scheme and all those things. And I got on a website and was reading a whole bunch of stuff and went, oh my God, what did I do? Because I believe the naysayers, right? But I learned you don't talk to the people who dropped out of college. Usually you talk to the graduates, right? And so that's what I learned. But I am blessed that my husband was like, whoop, hold on, go talk to your sales director. Like that's how supportive he is. So that was the one time I was like close. Other times I've been like, I've had to pull back in my business. Like when I had babies, I had C-sections. There were plenty of times where I scaled back. But most of the time it was either purposeful or I could handle it because I already had somewhat of a customer base. I personally have never felt like I was going to throw in the towel. Even though I've like been a director, not been a director, like I've been a director 3 times, I think. So there have been times where you would think, well, maybe this is when she should want to throw in the towel. For me, I love my customers. I love my sales. I love my residual income. So no matter where I am in the leadership, because that has been up and down, I've never actually really wanted to throw in the towel except for that one time, maybe 2 or 3 months in. Yeah.
Okay, that's so awesome to hear that.
Yeah.
And I just that warms my heart too, because since I've known you so long, that I've known you've had times when you were more in the forefront of leading others, and you've had other times where you're more working with your customers, and I think to me, it's like, I love that you can be in both places, and I still love you. You're my girl. Are you kidding? Hello. What? Whatever. No matter what your position is, you're my chick. So I love that you didn't get so frustrated, because sometimes, if you're working on a goal and you don't meet it, sometimes you can beat yourself up or you could feel bad, and I think this is me. Sometimes I beat myself up worse than maybe anybody else would. And then you say things to your own self. And I've learned through Mary Kay to be like, when I start doing that, I'm like, shut up. That is like, stop it, that voice. But before that, I would go down the trail, and so
it's very easy to hit that downward spiral. Yep.
Exactly. And I'm glad your husband told you to, call up. I think that's good. Well, so I have one more question, and this is, kind of a good timely one, because it's the beginning of the year, and a lot of times people are like, oh, I want to, I don't want last year to be as bad as it was. This year's a new year. Let's have a new thought, because last year was not the best, and the year before. So I always think, oh, new year, it's a good time for new things. So, in your opinion, why do you think Mary Kay at this moment is a great opportunity for people who, would love to have, make half what you sell, have great residual income, like you talked about, flexibility, all the things that you mentioned? What do you think?
So, well, first, I actually want to go back just a little bit because of, the elephant in the room, COVID, right? And I will, the first year, I didn't take a break, but I was like, okay, I got to reinvent myself. I'm going completely virtual, samples in the mail, how's that going to look or whatever. And I still was working my business, but I was figuring it out. And then about this time last year, I really launched in and figured it out. And, for growth instead of maintenance. Like the first year was kind of maintenance with a tiny bit of growth. Well, last year I was like, no, I want to grow. And I did that. And I'm still doing that. My method is actually probably Omicron, whatever, I'm back to mostly virtual. But even when I started doing in-person appointments again, for me, I am still like 80% virtual, even when the world goes back to normal, because it's my time management, it's my clients' time management, it's housekeeping, like all of those things. It's actually working better for me. So that is just a in this time thing. I broke my absolute ever sales record in November because of the growth that I created last spring. From January to like April, May, I hit it fairly hard. And so I decided to do that again this year. So right now I'm breaking my face's goal of pampering 40 women in the month of January. So that's my goal. But the reason I was able to break had a really great sales month in June, and then I broke my all-time sales record in November on purpose. Like I decided to go out and do that, and I did. So just FYI, and I've been in 15 years. So, there's some pretty good sales in there to break that record, right? And so as for right now in January, right now, the energy in the universe is everybody starting fresh, right? And you can ride that, you can collect that and use that for your launch. So if anybody's thinking about it, January is great because right now we are working mostly virtual, right? So everybody's in their house because of snow and weather and everything anyway, but you're working virtual. So you send them something in the mail, they try it. And then if they want to buy it, it's all virtual. So you don't have to worry about snow days. Like sometimes snow days are our best days. So that's when you're calling and people are home, as long as they're not out with their kids, because that happens too. But they get back to you when the kids are on the couch with Coco afterwards. So like it actually works really well in January. Last year, like I said, I launched that push in January, and I'm doing it again this year. So the whole Mary Kay world is doing that, but also the rest of the world is too. And so when you've got all that positive energy, you can actually use it to your advantage when you start something and decide to go with it too. And ride as long as you can, because they do say it fizzles in like 2 or 3 weeks for most people, but if you can keep it going, you can actually ride it for a long time.
I totally love that. I agree with you on that. And I wanted to say, I was over here like jumping out of my skin. I wish I had my pom-poms so I could be like waving in the air going, yay! I love that. It's so fun too. It's so fun to do something and have a win in some way. I just absolutely love that. I think it's so awesome. It makes you feel good about you. So so I can be like clapping and cheering. So well, I'm convinced. I think it's a great plan. And one thing that's kind of good to share with all of our people, and you may have like, this is a great thing, and we thought we were actually not going to get to offer this special deal anymore, but we're so happy that the company, Mary Kay Company, actually allows us to still complete the whole virtual consultantship. And so this is great news for anybody who's listening back. To think about this is that you can actually have the same kind of business like Sima's talking about, the virtual everything, and you can do it for $30. The company still has that deal going on from now till June. Now, obviously, we don't want to wait till June because then you're losing the momentum. Like now is now, right? So to me, I think, okay, that's a great timing. Everyone else is in the mood to do something new. Why not do this new? That's a great time. Skincare is in, and all the virtual, like all the snow days, everything else. It's just a perfect time. So you have a chance of starting a business for just $30. That means you can get a website, credit card processing, all that good jazz for $30. They still have a starter kit option where you can get like a full kit if you wanted all of that. But I love the fact that they've allowed for the virtual. Plus, you could get a sample pack if you want it, in addition. So to me, that's just a great option. So this is where all of our when our guests come back and listen, or those who are listening later, you got to let your consultant know these letters. If you are an A, B, C, or D, okay, just based on what you heard from Sima. So an A is, wow, okay, I'm all in. Like it's $30. You really can't get a deal like that. I mean, you can go to dinner and go to Starbucks and get out that cheap. That sounds good. I love making some extra cash. A B is, okay, it sounds good. Bribe me with something else. I'm kind of curiously intrigued. That's a B. A C is, girl, I'll be a cool customer. I'll be happy to host something. I'll see you at our next party and get some free stuff as a hostess. And then a D is, girl, I would rather be dead on the side of the road rather than start my own Mary Kay world. That'd be a D. And you don't want to pick a D because that's just so negative. So, pick your letter and then tell your beauty consultant. And truly, we just are so appreciative of everyone's time for watching. And honestly, I'm so thankful, Sima, for you jumping on and being able to share your story with us. It's so inspiring and I think just so encouraging.
Can I just share one more thing really quick because it came up as you were saying? So I just
Absolutely.
finished a book called Money, a Love Story, and she's talking about creating residual income and all of that kind of thing, and how businesses under $1,000 are one of the options. Like, because you could do a franchise, but that's $100,000. Like, there's all these other ways. But one of the ways you can do it with, you do need some sweat equity, but the cheapest monetarily are opportunities like ours. So
I love that. And that's
Yeah.
actually, that is a good point too. Cause like, yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
and people say, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. So, you know, so I like the idea of, I mean, whenever you're a woman, you don't have, you know, if you need money, you don't have a lot of money to be getting a business to make money, right? So it kind of makes
Yeah.
sense. So I
Yeah.
totally agree with you on that. And Seema's always reading great stuff, y'all. She's such a wealth of info. So rounds of applause again for Seema. You did so great. Thank you for being a part of all of it. You're so awesome. I know our team loves you. So I'm gonna stop the recording and I'll be putting the playback on. So let me push the stop. Thanks again, girl. You're so cute.